The government's plans to make the weight loss injection Mounjaro available on the NHS have been all over the headlines recently, and there's a good reason for this. Weight management is a concern for so many of us, and sadly, as a health service, despite our best efforts, we haven't been providing effective advice to help people manage this. Obesity is a very complex condition, and there's lots of different factors in our bodies and the world around us which make it harder to lose weight. And when the studies of weight loss injections showed a rapid weight loss during treatment, this presented a new potential route for managing this condition. But in parallel with the advances made in designing these drugs, there's been loads of exciting research exploring obesity as a condition, and our understanding of how to manage it is better than ever. We still don't know Mounjaro well. It's only been on the global market for about 3 years, and the trial data only covers a similar duration of treatment. But because the weight appears to be steadily regained after stopping it, the NHS are planning to continue this drug permanently for the people who start it. As time goes on, we'll get a better feel for the short and long-term side effects we should warn people about. But for now, the NHS is only approving the use of Mounjaro in a very small, carefully selected group of people. Officially, the deadline for the NHS to start this will be the 23rd of June, but to deliver this, we'll need to implement a package of diet and lifestyle interventions called wraparound care. We're still working out how this will be delivered, but it's very likely that most of the prescriptions for Mounjaro will not be written by GPs, and instead there'll probably be a neighbourhood level service a GP can refer people to so they can receive both Mounjaro and wraparound care. The criteria for receiving Mounjaro in the first group is extremely strict, and there's very little wiggle room for specific scenarios. To receive Mounjaro in the first group, people need to have a BMI of at least 40 and 4 out of these 5 conditions: a history of cardiovascular disease, such as a heart attack or stroke, they have high blood pressure requiring drug treatment, high cholesterol either requiring drug treatment or meeting the criteria here, a diagnosis of sleep apnea from a sleep clinic requiring treatment, and type 2 diabetes. There's a little star beside diabetes because this is a little different for people who need sugar control as well, as this group are covered by existing guidance on the use of Mounjaro in diabetic patients, which is a little different. This means that only a very small number of people will receive Mounjaro on the NHS at these early stages. So how can we help everyone else in the meantime? Mounjaro targets 2 hormones in the body: GLP-1, which reduces appetite and makes you feel more full, along with reducing cravings for food, and GIP, which is a little bit more mysterious. Some studies showed that activating GIP can actually increase weight gain, but clearly the way that Mounjaro activates it seems to help. Because we don't really understand GIP well, we won't focus on this, but if we look specifically at GLP-1, you may ask yourself, if this hormone is produced anywhere in my body, is there anything I can do to help my body produce more of it? The answer, thankfully, is yes. There's lots of things we can do to help our bodies increase the GLP-1 level. And if we implement these early on, we're likely to see better results if Mounjaro is used further down the line. So let's take a look. Something as simple as chewing your food more will naturally stimulate your GLP-1 production, reducing your appetite and cravings. We can approach this a few different ways. We could force ourselves to chew each mouthful more than we need to, or we could chew gum between meals to give ourselves a GLP-1 boost. But probably the better way of doing this is to increase the amount of intake of foods that need to be chewed more. Remember, it's the act of chewing that stimulates the GLP-1 release, so I wouldn't recommend blending or liquidizing these foods if you don't have to. You'll miss out on that GLP-1 boost, and you could see a rise in your blood sugars as your body will process this food much more quickly. By some beautiful coincidence, a lot of the foods that need to be chewed more also lead to a bigger rise in GLP-1 after they're swallowed. So increasing your intake of foods like whole vegetables, nuts and seeds, and leafy grains will all help to increase your GLP-1. Also, we need to be mindful about GLP-1 reducing meals. Having a meal that's high in saturated fat with a drink of alcohol sends the GLP-1 levels plummeting. So we need to make sure that these meals are for special occasions, not every day. These highly processed fatty foods and alcohol all have negative impacts on your sleep quality. And having a bad night of broken sleep drops the GLP-1 even further. But the harm from this goes far beyond GLP-1. This increases your stress hormone levels, and this will stimulate cravings for sugary food even further. Getting a good night's sleep is easier said than done, and lots of factors influence sleep quality, so we need to approach this from as many angles as we can. Reducing caffeine, saturated fat and alcohol intake, and increasing physical activity all help to improve sleep quality and GLP-1 release. But for more complex sleep problems, an NHS-approved insomnia management program may help more. The ways in which exercise influences GLP-1 are genuinely remarkable. A session of high-intensity exercise can raise GLP-1 levels for a full 24 hours after the session's been completed. It takes time building up to this level of exercise, but current evidence appears to show that exercising regularly increases GLP-1 levels no matter what intensity you choose. The benefits of this again go far beyond GLP-1. During exercise, the body sends sugar out from the bloodstream into the muscles as fuel, and during exercise up to 50 times as much sugar enters the muscles, meaning it can't be used for fat storage. Exercise benefits virtually every system in the body, reducing the risk of dementia, improving bone health, and improving mental well-being. So building a mix of exercises into your routine can help so much for your health. It can feel daunting at first, so start small, be kind to yourself, and stretch regularly to avoid injury. And over time, you'll feel able to approach more challenging workouts. The research around naturally raising GLP-1 is still in the early phases, so this is just a small snapshot of what studies have demonstrated so far. There'll likely be many more routes that come to light over time, but I feel a special mention must go to nature exposure here. There are no papers directly linking nature exposure to boosting GLP-1, but we know that exposure to nature both increases sleep quality and duration, and it reduces cravings for sugary or fatty foods, making it easier to eat those GLP-1 boosting foods I mentioned earlier. Even as little as 20 minutes of exposure to nature has been shown to reduce the levels of stress hormones, so if you have any parks or green spaces in your area, paying them a visit can help with all of these things. You may notice that the recommendations here are quite familiar advice. One of my colleagues pointed out that much of this advice is what our grandparents told us. Chew your food, eat your veg, get a good night's sleep, and go out for a walk after your meal. It might feel bizarre that we've come full circle in this way, but thanks to global efforts investigating this, we now have a growing base of scientific evidence to help us provide good quality advice and help people feel better and lose weight. See you next time.